Hey, what's going on? You're hanging out with the Rockman backstage at Heavy Montreal 2014. Yeah! And with me is my friend Franz from Grimskunk, who I've known for 2 decades, right?
At least. YMCA Point Claire, buddy.
Yes, we did a show together there a long time ago. So you guys did a great job. Always a tough spot to be one of the first people on the main stage. But man, I mean, were you surprised at how many people were out there?
Personally, yes.
I know we've played that stage, and it wasn't like that when we played. That's for sure.
Well, there's more people this year, so let's be honest. It's a hell of a year. Putting the punk and the metal together this year has been, for I guess maybe the metal purists might be a little bit upset, but honestly, I think it's awesome.
For sure.
I love both. I love seeing the socially conscious rebels of society, the people who are not into conforming, the punks and the metalheads all hanging out together. I think it's amazing. And I was afraid that after a big Metallica show last night, people would be like really hungover and maybe showing up late, but it turned out pretty good.
I think people were ready for you, and I think you guys did great.
I had a great time. Really, it was really fun, and it's just 1 o'clock is not the easiest time in the world to sing or to play rock and roll. You kind of have to it's just like the wrong time. So you have to kind of give yourself a jump start. You know what I mean? You gotta sort of shock yourself into rock and roll mode real early.
Good coffee in the morning?
Yeah, we had to go for it. Just go for it.
I gotta ask you because judging from your stage rants, you haven't mellowed out with age, have you?
Fuck that. Screw that, man. Look at the people. Look at our society, man. It's worse than it was before. I was just talking to this other journalist about how it's not a big problem, but it's disturbing to me that almost no bands today, other than super heavy, alternative and marginal bands like metal bands and stuff, no one has anything to say. I mean, it's not a criticism. I don't mind bands that don't talk about social things, but even pop bands like REM or whoever, there was always bands
that had a political agenda or had something to say.
Yeah, they were really involved, and it seems for the last 5 or 10 years, no one is saying anything at a time where we have the worst prime minister ever running our country. We have wars everywhere. We have this intense 1% rich corporate elite living like basically the kings and queens of old, but in a modern setting, controlling everything, and everybody else are the peasants, starving and living like shit, and no one seems to care.
Well, and that's what I love about you guys, and that's what I love about you personally, is that you don't change. I mean, it's not that you don't evolve, but you don't change. You've got core values, and they've stayed with you as long as I've known you.
We always wanted to use punk rock as, punk rock meant to us rejecting, not conforming to the norm, rejecting a system that didn't appeal to us or represent us, and fighting against things that we thought were wrong. And for me, that's what punk rock is and will always be. And punk rock is not all of who we are, but it's a big part of who we are. And we sing about tripping out and smoking doobs and all kinds of cool stuff too, but we also sing about stuff that is really important to us, which is to try to promote human values and things that are important to human beings over greed and power and things like that are really horrible. And I think that if no one speaks up, they're just going to continue doing what they're doing, and it's I can't deal with it.
And since the band's been, you've always been a DIY kind of band. You've always taken matters into your own hands, to the point where you started your own label to put out your own records, probably after flirting with the majors and realizing how much they're going to screw you. But what I love about you, is that you're not only putting out records, but you're putting out records that are really doing really well. I mean, not only, you're lending the hand out to the smaller bands, but you put out the Half Moon Run record. You put out the Franklin Electric record that's got so much heat right now. That's got to be satisfying for you, coming from the background where you know how much hard work goes into that, and you're able to extend your hand out and go, hey guys, come on up.
We could have used help when we were starting out.
Tell me about it.
So for me, it was always, for us, it was always really natural to say, you know, you're a young band and you're starting out and, you know, you have no money and, you know, nobody knows who you are and you need help. And it's really important to get that help and that support from whoever you can. Whoever, it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, do a lot of things to help a lot of people too, by the way. And it's essential. All the things that all of us that are out there helping, I mean, Jay Walker and all the other people that I know locally and all over the world that help young acts out, that's where you kind of give people a chance to follow their dreams and their inspiration in art and music and creativity, where they might have the balls to stick it out and they might give up. And I mean, Half Moon Run, you know, when we met them, they had run out of money. Connor was here from BC. He was 19. And when we met them, they pretty much had a decision to make, which was either go back home because we're broke and break up, or go for it and take a chance.
And can you imagine if
That's how close they came.
Can you imagine if they would never have completed that record, never put it out, how much of a loss that would have been?
It's a huge loss, and I mean, they're the ones making the great music. I mean, like, you know, like,
yeah, but you need someone to steer the boat and to open the doors, and that's what you're doing.
You just need a helping hand at key moments, and you know, I've found it just as thrilling. Like you say, we were a DIY band. You know, there's lots of people helping us, but they weren't people in positions of like power, you know, especially when we started out. Mainstream media and industry, they were like, first of all, they had no idea what we're doing. We were like, you know, aliens from another planet. Even if they wanted to help us, they didn't understand what we were doing. They didn't know how to help us. So we had to figure it out ourselves, like hacking through the jungle with a machete, creating a road, creating a sub-society in that jungle, and inviting people in and whatever. But the joy of building your own story, which, you know, you and your band knew, and lots of bands at that time, especially in the 90s, because there was lots of independent and alternative bands doing it. It's tough, but it's also exciting. And I got a great thrill doing it, and I learned a lot by face planting and going, oh, that wasn't good, let's try, you know, something else. But when I started working with younger bands, I found it just as thrilling and exciting to see them go from, we're just these naive kids playing music that we like in our living room or in our garage, to, wow, we just, you know, sold out a venue and there's fans, and it was literally just as much fun and just as satisfying to do it with others as it was to do it for our own band. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm such a great guy. It was like, I thought it was fun.
And you feel good doing it, right?
Absolutely. But because you see, I mean, it's a lot like, kind of like parents with children. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a lame thing, but it is a lot like that. You know, you take something that's young and underdeveloped, and you have a vision for it, and you say, I think these guys have talent and potential, and I can just see them taking this creativity and this music and people loving it, but you know that there's a whole process before they get there, and just accompanying them along that journey and trying to, you know, send great, inspiring people, you know, on their path so that they can collaborate with those people and get inspired and grow, and then create amazing music. Every single band in history started out as a young, fairly shit band, you know? Everyone.
For sure.
So, you know what I mean? Like, it's so important.
Well, I gotta ask you one last thing. What's next in the Grimskunk plans chapter? What's the next? I mean, another record in the works. What's up? It's been a while. We got the last record, what, 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah. We're writing right now, so we're writing our socks off at the moment, writing a lot. And we're going to do about a month of festivals in August, and we're going to write pretty much for the fall and record the new album over the fall and the winter, and I'd like to release it you know, in the early months of next year. And we may or may not go back into Australia in between. We'll see what happens. We have stuff in Europe to do, but we might wait till we finish the record.
Gonna put it out on Indica?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to sign to a big major?
You know? No.
Franz, Grimskunk, Heavy Montreal, Backstage 2014.